Is it...
All right. 1, 2, 3, and action. You got a cough? All right. Take 17. Oh my God. Will somebody get this man a lozenge?
It's Peter von Sholly Part 2. We're starting with the prehistory.
No. Start over.
Why?
Because...
Take 47 and a half. I hate my life. Go.
Welcome to Bonehead, everybody.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Subscribe. This is Peter von Sholly Part 2. We're starting with prehysteria. Oh my God, you're always talking on top of me.
That's right. We're starting with his work on prehysteria. Again, continuing the conversation about Charlie Band, but we also get some great stories about...
Sam Raimi.
So go back. If you haven't listened to part 1, this may not make as much sense, so you may want to go back to that. But tune in. This is the continuation of our conversation. It ran long, but we had so many great stories. We did not want to make... we wanted to make sure you got all of it and did not want to cut anything out. Listen to this. This is classic how things got to be where they are.
Now, the sequels to me are just unwatchable. The sequels are so bad. Because they didn't even do stop motion, you know, and they made these puppets. They made these great stop motion puppets, and they hardly used them, you know. Hardly any stop motion in prehysteria, which was really just... I was envisioning tons of it, you know.
Right.
And now the articulated, the cable puppets that they made were pretty good for what they were, especially the Tyrannosaurus. It was pretty articulate. But the Stegosaurus couldn't do anything. It was just like a blob of rubber. Somebody, you know, could make the tail move with a wire or something a little bit, you know. So it was, you know, it wasn't what I had in mind, but they were the only ones that I could get interested in making the movie. And I made money. You know, I got a producer credit. I learned things. We were on set. I directed Second Unit. I directed a bunch of Second Unit on Pet Shop, the next one that we made, which was really fun. You know, and the only money that we didn't get, now I talked about Charlie Band, you know, you talked about him owing people money and stuff. The money that we didn't get was the back end money. That's all.
Right.
And Paramount took over his shop after a while, which is really a shame because he had all these people and, you know, he was making movies, cranking out movies. Here's one story for you. Me and him were in his office, and he had all these posters for movies that hadn't been made. He would come up with an idea, you know, like skulls, you know, mandibles, whatever, you know, just a word. And he would go, oh, that's cool. Then he would have an artist paint up a poster. Shrunken Heads, you know, Netherworld. And he would take these posters around to the film markets and stuff and sell them. And, you know, you can get $1 million, a couple $1 million to make a movie. But he once said to me, you know, hey, it's almost a shame to have to make the movies. You know? Yeah, it's so much fun to make the posters and sell them, and it's like, yeah, after that, shit, we got to make the movie.
I was going to say, because Shrunken Heads got made, so...
I know it did, and Danny Elfman's brother directed it.
Yeah, no. And we actually, I brought that movie up in episode 3 or 4 of our podcast.
Yeah, it's Rich. Is it Richard Elfman?
Yes.
It's Richard
Yes,
Elfman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You know, another thing that's funny from this vantage point is that, and it's great that people, because I go to Monsterpalooza and these conventions, because I write and draw and publish my own books.
Right.
I go to these shows. And when I meet people there, they, oh, you did Prehysteria, I love that, or Nightmare 3. That a lot of people seem to like Nightmare 3. And at the time, you know, because I grew up in the ancient days where the classics were Frankenstein and Dracula, and Karloff and Lugosi and King Kong and all that, Creature from the Black Lagoon. So all this new stuff was just a bunch of new crap that, you know, this isn't, who's going to ever remember this, you know? And not that it was bad, but you never expected all these years later people to be going, oh, like, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street, oh, a classic. You're like, what? You know?
Well, that's funny because we asked Mick Strawn the same question, and the last time we had him on the show of what movie do you get asked about the most that you can't believe that you ever would have gotten asked about? And it was Critters 2. He says he gets asked about Critters 2 all the time, and he never would have thought anybody would ever have given two shits about this movie, right?
Right.
What was the other one?
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo.
Oh yes, it was a movie he did for Canon called Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, which is, I think, famous because of the title. Honestly, people always remember Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, Critters 2, he said, you never would have thought. Who cared? And then he started thinking about all the crap that they throwed out and they just got rid of that would be worth a fortune now.
And you know, in terms of your career, I actually called both of these jerkwads up and said, he worked on Mom and Dad Save the World.
Yeah, Greg Beeman.
Yeah. And I actually said, I know, yeah, he directed License to Drive as well. Did he do anything, Chad? This is a conversation we had earlier. Anything after that? And I guess he went on to do a lot of television.
Bushwhacked, yeah. He's done a lot of television. But yeah, I mean, yeah, no, a lot of them, you know, you're making these movies and you probably never even thought at the time that they were going to have an impact on people 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
No, hell no.
Yeah.
You know, Mom and Dad Saved the World. That's another one, you know, that I forgot all about that. My son was going to be in that.
Oh, really?
And he was little. I can't remember how old he was, but 5 or 6 years old. And they had him dressed up like a little caveman. He was dirty and it was great. And he's just this tiny baby, and he's standing there, and Greg Beeman's looking at him. Okay, now when I say go, I want you to run over there and grab this thing and do this. And he's just looking at him. All of a sudden, he just goes, and you know, it's like he doesn't. And he goes up to Andrea and he goes, "Mama, I can't do it." so he did not get to be in the movie. But, you know, I met Tony Gardner, and Kevin Yeager, and a lot of those people, and they were great. Just the greatest guys in the world. And I could go to their shop. Now, Robert Englund was always being a smartass and being funny with Kevin. Kevin's trying to put the Freddy makeup on him, and Robert is just cracking jokes, and he won't sit still, and he's fucking around with Kevin, and he's just a hilarious character.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, in those days, now, on the Green, just by contrast, on the Green Mile. Now, the Green Mile had Tom Hanks in it, so movie star, you know. And these other movies where you could go to the set, and I used to go to the set and watch them film and everything because it was fascinating to see the sets and everything, you know, to see it all happening. But on the Green Mile, I brought my little digital camera, which was new. You know, hardly anybody had digital cameras at that point. And I was walking around taking pictures of the electric chair and the set and stuff. And the set photographer came over to me and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm the storyboard artist." He goes, "Well, what are you doing with the camera?" I said, "Nothing. I'm just taking pictures of stuff." He goes, "Well, you can't do that." One of the stars, I don't know who, noticed and, you know, sent him over to tell me, you know, who is that guy with the camera?
Right.
And that was my first encounter with on big movies, you know. And the guy was real nice to me. He came up later, and I said, "Look, I'll take the camera out and put it in the car." I'm sorry, I didn't know. And he came up later and he said, "Hey, listen, I didn't mean to be an asshole about that, but you know, we have to watch it because the next thing you know, the picture's in the Inquirer the next day."
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to. If we see anybody with a camera, that's like a red flag. It's like, oh, okay, so it was there's different levels of stuff, you know, in the movie world.
Okay.
But,
go ahead.
Yeah.
We have a cliched question we ask quite a bit, and basically what it is who is the worst and who is the best director that you worked with? And the reason we ask this is because we usually get a really good story, either about the best or the worst, depending. Does that make sense to you? So,
yeah, sure. Well, I was starting to say that, you know, because I met Tony Gardner. You know who Tony is, right?
Absolutely, Tony. And then I knew who was you? Tony Gardner and the other one. He did. Tony Gardner did the makeup for Darkman, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had seen Evil Dead. And I thought I loved Evil Dead, you know. So.
Right.
And I knew Tony from The Blob. Maybe some other movies. And so I read in Fangoria or someplace that Sam Raimi was making this new movie.
Yes.
and I wanted to work with him because I liked Evil Dead. So I called Tony Gardner and said, hey, I read you were working on this movie. How can I get in on it? And he said, well, just call Universal and ask for Sam Raimi. And he said, yeah.
Which, and the reason Dark...
Next thing I know, I'm talking to Sam Raimi. And he said, yeah, we're getting ready to make this movie. Tony recommended you. Sure, come on in. So they were in sort of a little trailer type of thing over at Universal. I went over and I met him. And I showed him some storyboards that I did. And he liked them. And actually, he paid me kind of a compliment. He liked the storyboards because it was something that I had made up. And it was a continuity and stuff. And he said, well, that's what swung me to hire you, because any storyboard artist is going to do competent work. If you're professional,
right.
You're going to know how to do it. And so, big deal. But, you showed creativity or whatever. There was something he liked when I showed him. So he hired me. But I would just, that leads me to, he was probably one of the most fun directors ever, because he was a wild man. He's really, really funny and spontaneous.
Yeah.
And during working on Darkman, I forget what I suggested, but one of those situations where I said, well, what if we did this? And he went, that is a great idea. And when the movie comes out, it will be my idea.
Well, I'm a huge, when we were talking about fan, I am a huge Sam Raimi fan. He's probably my favorite director, and I've just never gotten over it. I discovered Wells, I discovered Hitchcock, but still my 12-year-old brain watching The Evil Dead 2, which is probably one of the most fun films ever made. It's just fun, ridiculous films. I just am a huge Sam Raimi fan still to my heart, and it's one of the few heroes that is still alive I've never gotten to meet, and I don't know that I ever will. But we headed here to ask you about Darkman and working with Sam Raimi, because I've never heard anybody tell us. I've met a lot of people who know him, and I've never heard a negative story.
No, he's a lot of fun. I showed up at his house one day to do storyboards, because that's where we did them. And the Coen brothers were there.
Right. Yeah. Because he gave them their start, correct? They were assistant editors, I think, on the original. I think Joel Coen, his first kind of job was as an assistant editor on The Evil Dead. Okay.
Yeah. I knew they had. I don't know the details of their relationship, but I knew they were friends for a long time.
Right.
And they were influenced by Sam's style, I think.
Yep.
So, but they were there, and that was the kind of the people, that he was, his girlfriend was Lisa Henson then, and she lived right across the street from his house. And so he would go, let's go over to Lisa's house. She's not home, but she has ice cream. And ate ice cream at her house, And he would just do, his brother Ted was really funny, and Ted was there, and Sam would be, he loved the Three Stooges. You see all the Shemp references, And he would, like Moe, he would go, I'm telling you, and he was trying to make this sushi using canned tuna fish, rolling it up in seaweed paper. And he goes, I'm telling you, this is going to be great. And, he had the theory of the microwave pizza is like the microwave is a time machine. When you put the pizza in the microwave, it sends it back to the way it was yesterday, but then as it cools off, it has a boomerang effect into the way it's going to be tomorrow. There was always some funny shit going on. And we took a ride in his car. He had that car Bruce Campbell always drives.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, the classic. He called it the classic.
Yeah, the classic. He goes, one day he goes, let's fuck this shit. Let's go take a ride in the classic. And I'm going, okay. So we went and got in his car, and he's zooming down the freeway in this car, laughing, and he goes, this car doesn't know laws and roads and speed limits. It only knows movies. And we're flying down the road. So, and I showed up at his house one day to work, and he forgot that we were supposed to work that day. So I knocked on the door, and I go, here I am. He goes, oh, shit, are we working? I said, well, I'm supposed to. And he goes, nah, screw it. Get in the car. We're going to see The Abyss. So we got in the car, and we went to the screening of The Abyss, and he was sitting with John Landis and other people, and he told me, don't sit next to John Landis. He'll talk through the whole movie.
Well, that's so funny, because John Landis is in Darkman. He has a cameo in Darkman.
Yeah, he does. I almost had a cameo in Darkman, but I fucked up, I guess. I don't know what happened. I was in the doctor's office when, what's your name? Agutter? Jane?
Jenny Agutter. Yes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
She was the nurse.
She's the nurse.
And Darkman had escaped from the hospital. And I was dressed up as a doctor. And I was supposed to gesture like, I don't know what happened, you know, and they didn't have time to fool around, you know. They shot my shot, and he didn't really give me any direction, so I didn't know what to do. And it ended up not being in the movie, but it was close.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
He tried.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, no, he was just a lot of fun. And at the Abyss, there were some, you know, young guys I know that were movie maker type people, and they look over and they see me sitting with Sam Raimi and John Landis, and they're like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just some. Now, most people would have said, "Oh, I forgot we're working. Go home. We'll do it tomorrow or something." You know. And Sam said, "Hop in the. Come on, we're going to see the Abyss." So that's, you know, the kind of guy that he was. So that was really, really, really fun. I can't think of anybody that was like horrible. You know. Quite honestly, I always had a good time with people. You know, when you do the storyboards, you are involved usually early on and not into the horror and the warfare that the movie becomes,
right,
or can become, you know. So you're not in the trenches, you know, really. So, you know, it's a luxury job in a way. Mostly what I would do is go and meet with the director and discuss a scene or a sequence.
Right.
And I would bring pencil and paper and sit down with the guy and draw pictures. And he would say, okay, I want to start with the 2-shot, then I want to cut to this, and then I want to do that, and then I want to dolly in on here, blah, blah, blah. So I'm drawing this real sketchy while we're talking. And that way I can say, you mean like this, and show him the sketch, and he will say yes or no, or he'll say, oh, yeah, but tighter, you know, or looser, you know. And then I go home and take a nap, you know, do whatever I want, relax, and then sit down with the sketches and tighten them up. And, you know, bring them in. And I did them real fast. And a lot of the old storyboard stuff I did, a lot of those Charlie Band movies, like The Lurking Fear, and some of those, you know, what are they called? A bunch of the Puppet Master movies.
Oh, all those Full Moon films. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a ton of those. And the artwork is awful. I can't even look at it. It's like I don't even want anybody to see it. Because the point was not to make pretty drawings. The point was to make storyboards that work, that, you know, that cut, and they need it fast, and they appreciate when you do it fast, and so I did it real fast, but, you know, it's not pretty. That's the thing I was going about My Demon Lover. Bernie Wrightson storyboarded a sequence or two, and they're really beautiful drawings, of course.
Right.
It's Bernie Wrightson. The drawings look really nice. They're not necessarily, at least what I saw, really good storyboards in terms of cutting together, because Bernie didn't know film. And that's those things that you learn about what the difference between film and other comics and other kinds of continuity. You can be the greatest artist in the world, but that doesn't mean that your storyboards are going to be good.
Right.
Just because the drawings are pretty. And these days, there's a lot of value placed on beautiful drawings. You know, people do these comic book style finished renderings. It's why? You know, isn't what's there more important than how it's drawn? You know, it's stupid to waste that much time on it, I think.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a means to an end.
Right.
You know, the final product is the movie. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress as usual.
No. This is wonderful.
Well, talking about the blood and warfare of when the movie actually gets made, you did the storyboards for the Fantastic Four movie that never was released, and you're featured in the documentary about the Superman film that was never released.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that process like? To work on something and it never see the light of day.
Yeah, and to work with Tim Burton as well, because he's also worked on Mars Attacks.
Yeah, you got unaccredited for Mars Attacks, right? And you also worked on James and the Giant Peach, which he produced.
Yeah.
On James and the Giant Peach, I went up to San Francisco to Skellington. That was Henry Selick's studio up there where they did Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right.
and I worked for about 9 months on James and the Giant Peach, and then I knew they were going to do Mars Attacks, which I was like, I want to work on that. You know?
Oh God, yeah.
So,
I said, yeah.
We agree. We were.
If somebody told me that they were making Mars Attacks, I would have been foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
I know. And my first question was, are there going to be giant insects? And they were like, no, they're not. It's like, oh, shit. And that was, the Mars Attacks thing was a whole saga unto itself. But I made it known to the producer that I really wanted to work on Mars Attacks. So they hired me, and I got to work on it. And you want to hear anything about that?
Oh yes, please. We're just sitting here waiting for it. Yes, absolutely.
Well, the first thing that happened, I was in San Francisco, like I said, working on James and the Giant Peach, and we were winding down on Giant Peach. And, we were in that part of the movie where everybody is bored to death. Feature animation is a whole thing. Feature animation is not like live-action movies. Live-action movies are more like the train is left the station. We are rolling. We got to get this done because we're shooting in 2 months, and we got to get everything done. And there's no time, not much time, to mess around. But live action features, they fart around with stuff and they redo things and they mess with it and mess with it. A lot more time goes into it. And the storyboard artists are more properly called story artists in that context because they do create the story. There may be a script or not, but then we create the story. But anyway, James and the Giant Peach was getting really boring, and we were tired of being out of town too because we were transplanted up there, and we wanted to go home, after 9 months. So they I think on a Friday they came up and they said, "Oh, Tim Burton wants you to come down to LA and meet with him on Monday and go to England on Tuesday." And I was like, "What?" And so that's what he wants. So I went home and I told Andrea, and she goes, "Well, what did you say?" And I said, "Well, I told him I'd have to think about it." She goes, "You idiot, tell them we'll go. Tell them yes." And I said, "Well, they didn't say they were going to send you and our son." And she said, "Well, tell them we'll pay for them.
Right.
We'll pay for ourselves." And I went, "All right." So we packed up and left San Francisco and drove to L.A. on the weekend. I went to meet Tim Burton Monday morning, and I was on a plane to England the next day to meet with Barry Purvis, who was the stop-motion animator that was going to do The Martians.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I got to, I met, I think her name was Lori Parker, she was the producer at the time. She got replaced. But one of the things, Lori, when I got there and met with her, I said, "Well, I'm supposed to go to England tomorrow, but what about my wife and son? They want to go too." And she goes, "Oh, we can send them."
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So I was like, "Really? Fuck, that's great." So I went and told Andrea, and we're going to England. So away we went. And when we got over there, Barry Purvis was just finishing a movie of his own called Achilles. It was a stop motion movie with puppets. I mean, obviously with puppets, but he was busy. And when I got there, he said, "I'm going to L.A. in 2 weeks. I'm going to be in L.A."
Yeah.
"Why did they send you here?" And I said, "I don't know, but here I am." And he said, "Well, all right, I'll make time with you, and we can sit in the pub after in the evening, and I can give you some stuff, and you can do some storyboards." And
Right.
I said, "Okay." So we had 2 weeks in England. So we went to London. We were in the sort of the middle of England, that's where he was. But we drove, and I had never driven on the left side of the road before, which was a very exciting experience.
Right.
And people honked at me a lot, and I got used to it, and I just shrugged my shoulders like, I'm doing the best I can, folks. But we went to Blackpool, and we went to Chester, and we went to Altrincham, and there was a town over there called Hay-on-Wye that's like all bookstores, a whole town of nothing but bookstores, kind of picked over, so you wouldn't find anything really great, but still it was a tourist thing, And we went to London on the weekend and went to the British Museum, and I saw the dinosaurs and stuff. It was just great. And then in the evenings, I would sit with Barry and do some storyboards. Of course, all of it got thrown out. It all was just a total waste of time. But, so I don't care,
But you got a free vacation out of it, basically.
travel all over. And Barry would say, well, you guys might like to go to Chester. They have a great zoo, or you might want to go to Blackpool, which is by the sea, and they've got a big aquarium there that's really amazing. And he would tell us neat places to go, since we had nothing to do,
right,
except wait for his availability. So we did it. We came back to L.A. They brought Barry over, and they put on this new producer somewhere along the way, and he was looking at the records. He was going, "What the fuck is this? We sent your wife and son to England?" He goes, "I never would have approved this." And I just looked at him like, "Well, what do you want me to do about it?" So
really quick, was that producer Larry Franco?
Yeah.
Larry,
he was the producer, but it was the what's his name? It was the production manager.
Production, like a line producer.
Yeah, that was the guy that was saying all this stuff.
Because I was thinking that Larry Franco actually produced that, and sorry, the only reason I know the name is because he used to produce John Carpenter films. Sorry, but keep going.
Yeah, he got shot in the beginning of the thing.
Yeah, that's the guy that gets shot in the beginning of the thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a guy over there that I worked with a few times, and he was kind of like the money man, and he was grumbling about why did we send all you guys to England? But it was like too late, So,
right.
So that was that. But then Mars Attacks, they wanted to do stop motion Martians. Tim Burton said what he wanted to do was hire the crummiest effects house in Hollywood and have them do their very best. Because he liked that Ed Wood sensibility, and he likes, as you know, he likes stop motion. So he wanted stop motion. But the thing is that the Martians had glass helmets when they were, not in their spaceship.
Right.
And the animators couldn't touch the glass helmets because they get fingerprints on them, so they had to wear gloves. And to shoot a shot with a Martian, you would have to put the helmet on, take the picture, take the helmet off, move the head, put the helmet back on, take the next picture, take the helmet off, move the head, It added a layer of time and difficulty that you wouldn't normally have with stop motion because of these glass helmets. And there were factions in the studio that wanted just to go to ILM and have them do it. And Tim wanted to do stop motion, and eventually the studio won out.
Yeah.
And so they did what they did. I am not a big fan of that movie, to tell you the truth, because it's not funny enough to be a comedy. It's not horror enough to be a horror. It's just, to me, it's like he doesn't know what the hell it is. Now, I know a lot of people love it and all that, but to me, it's just like, because I wanted it to have giant bugs.
Well, I saw it when I saw it when it came out, and it actually I didn't appreciate it till years later, and now I think it's hilarious. But it is
okay, maybe.
It is a bizarre film to come out of a studio.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, they chickened out. When the skeletons, when people got turned into skeletons, they painted them green.
Yeah.
They painted them red, and they did weird because they were afraid it would be too gory.
Yeah. Right.
So they were worried about that, And then when they had the cattle, they were supposed to be burning on fire, and they kind of put this weird radiation glow on them or something. They were really timid about, we can't make this like Mars Attacks. And I'm like, yeah, but the whole thing of Mars Attacks is how gory and outrageous it is.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, that scene with the cows on fire, I'm glad it was at the very beginning of the movie, because that almost took me out of it entirely, and luckily I stuck in there. Because I'm like, the cows running, and that whatever it was they were doing, it looked fake to me. It killed me. It killed me out of the movie for about 5 minutes, and then I got back into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I have mixed feelings about it, and this is, I worked on 3 Chucky movies, and honestly, forgive me, Don Mancini, I've never told you this, but I'm a big Chucky fan.
Well, I was going to...
monsters go, movie monsters, a little talking killer puppet doll.
Well...
But I had a great time working on the movies.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you can have a great time with a director and have a ball on a terrible movie. Not that to say that the Chucky movies are terrible movies. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. The job can be a real lot of fun.
Yeah.
In recent years, I did a whole bunch of Adam Sandler movies.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not a big fan. I'm not a huge fan. I liked Happy Gilmore. It made me laugh.
Yeah.
But a lot of Adam Sandler movies, that Jack and Jill one,
Uh-huh.
he played his own twin sister and stuff. Like, hey. But Dennis Dugan, the director,
Yeah.
was great. I had such a good time with him and so much fun. And they treat you really well. Barry Bernardi is the producer over there, and he's hired me a bunch. And it's a fun bunch of people to work
Right.
with.
So
So that's important. You don't control. It's not my fault if the movie is bad or good or anything.
Right.
I just do my part. And if I have fun and make a living at it, I also, in the animation, you're in the Art Directors Guild is what I was in. That's the live action thing, the animation union earlier in that, and you get health benefits. So I have lifetime health benefits for me and my wife
Uh-huh.
working, and that is really a lifesaver, and no pun intended.
No, literally, yes, absolutely.
well,
It really is, because if something happens to you, you can just get wiped out. And
Yep.
so the insurance is really critical. Jack Kirby never had insurance until he worked in animation.
Yeah.
All of his career he had, and never in his life did he have health coverage until he worked at Ruby Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Because he joined the animation union and he had coverage. It's crazy that somebody like that
Yeah.
has got health insurance.
So let me ask you this because this is kind of a weird thing in your career, going to animation, but also tying it into your live action work. You worked on the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures animated series. Is it weird that
I was the art director on that.
Yeah, exactly. Was it weird that you were the art director and then you went from that to working with Alex Winter as a director in the movie Freaked?
Yeah. Well, I didn't meet him on Bill and Ted on the cartoon.
Right. It was just kind of weird how that worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tom Stern was his partner, and that was a fun movie. The Kyoto brothers did some work in that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of special effects. Really wacky movie. Those like almost Big Daddy Roth kind of makeups that they did.
Right.
That was a really interesting one, and they were so nice. That's one of those other things that's funny is when they gave really beautiful crew jackets to everybody.
Yeah.
On that, and with Hideous Mutant Freaks embroidered on it.
Yeah.
What was the title? Hideous Mutant Freaks. I don't know.
What happened?
Was it called Freaked or something?
Yeah, it's called Freaked.
That's a movie that was probably ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the lower budget movies, Vamp, they gave out a beautiful crew jacket. And Shawshank Redemption, believe it or not, was a low budget movie.
Uh-huh.
It turned out to be a good movie and a hit and very popular and all that. But nobody knows that when you're making the movie. But they had crew jackets that were really nice. Then you get to Warner Brothers and Mars Attacks, and they say, "Oh, we're if anybody wants to buy a crew jacket, sign up here."
And they have all the money in the world. Yeah.
I know, and they didn't give me a credit, and I was concerned about that because I'd heard rumors. So I called up Warner Brothers and I said, "Am I going to get credit on Mars Attacks?" And they said, "Well, you'll have to talk to Norma Fuss. If ever there was a woman with a perfect name, type of person she was, it would have to be her." So I call up Norma Fuss, and this woman answers the phone, and I said, "I'm Pete von Sholly. I worked on Mars Attacks. I want to find out if I'm getting a credit." She goes, "No." And I said, "What do you mean no?" And she said, "Well, they sent your name over on the credits, but I took it off." And I said, "Why did you take it off?" She goes, "Warner Brothers doesn't credit storyboard artists," which is not true.
Huh.
And I said, "Well, you just took it off?" She goes, "Yep." And I said, "Well, I don't work for people that don't give me credit." She goes, "Well, I have nothing to do with that." And she was just the bitchiest person. And, it was really annoying because if you don't get your name on a movie, it's almost like you didn't work on it.
Absolutely.
And you can go to the IMDb now and you can say, "Hey, I worked on this movie." Like I think on IMDb, tax, my name is there, and it says uncredited.
Exactly.
Right. Uh-huh.
Well, uncredited, yeah, because of Norma Fuss. And I don't really know why she did that. What does it cost them to put a little line of credits,
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. And before that, I never had a question about it, or I never didn't get credit.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, why didn't I get credit? There was only 3 storyboard artists on most of the movie.
Uh-huh.
Me and Michael Anthony Jackson and Robin Richardson. The 3 of us did most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a great time, but I don't know if Michael did a lot of work for Tim Burton. He was kind of like his right-hand storyboard guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Robin got credit or not. But it's just one of those things that's annoying, I was going to tell you about Charlie Band, one other thing, when Paramount took over his operation because they were giving him money. We gave you $2 million to make this movie. It looks like you made it for 10 cents. What happened?
Yeah.
So and I don't know. I think Charlie was spending the money building his studio and stuff. He wasn't putting it on the screen. I believe. And so when Prehysteria was a big hit, I said, well, what about the back end money? Knowing, even real people in big movies get robbed of back end money.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What did I think? But they basically said, well, we didn't make any money on it. If balanced against all the other things, and besides, you'd have to talk to Paramount. Well, Paramount is just another. They're the same.
Right.
They're notorious too. About Coming to America, Art Buchwald, and all that. So, I went to Paramount and I said, "What about this movie?" And they said, "Well, your deal's with Full Moon, so we have nothing to do with it." Then you go to Full Moon, and they say, "No, you have to talk to Paramount."
Uh-huh.
So they just bat you back and forth, and you just go, "Well, I was warned." But I made good money on Prehysteria, and Andrea sculpted these great dinosaurs, and she got paid.
Yeah.
So I'm not bitter about it. I just wish it was a better movie.
Yeah.
And Pet Shop too. I had this idea, that there's an alien pet shop. You ever seen Pet Shop? You know about?
I have never seen Pet Shop.
That's one of the few I haven't.
Yeah. That's the one we hadn't seen.
You're not missing much. But the idea was, some aliens open up a pet shop in a little town, and they've got alien pets. And what they really want to do is entice Earth children into the pet shop and get them pets and stuff, and then they're going to abduct them to sell in their pet shop back home on their home planet.
Well, now I want to see it.
Yeah. Pet shop.
Yeah.
See, now that could be a cool movie, maybe, but it just got watered down, and the pets were supposed to be, really cool and able to do all kinds of things, and they were very limited puppets, and they couldn't, the whole thing was like, just not what I was hoping,
Right.
So, but I've in more recent years, I've been doing my own comics and books, and I've done some Kickstarters.
Yeah.
And done well, made money and put my books out, and this is the real fun, because it's what I always wanted to do in the first place was comics.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're working your work with the H.P. Lovecraft stuff is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
See, now I grew up liking H.P. Lovecraft, and when I would go to Albany, New York, I'd go to those used bookstores I was talking about.
Yeah.
You dig through these piles of these stinking old paperbacks, and you find, the case of Charles Dexter Ward or something like that. It's like, wow. It's like a treasure hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you couldn't, you just couldn't just go get these things then. So it was like discovering something really fun, and the stories would sort of interconnect. There would be names mentioned here and names mentioned there. And I illustrated one book just on my own and try to interest publishers in it. The one called The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath or Kadath or Kadath, whatever, I don't know how you're supposed to say it. That one, it's a fantasy. It's kind of like Lovecraft's Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
This guy, Randolph Carter, has this big epic, but there's all kinds of monsters and fantastic lands that they go to. It's in the dreamlands. And it's not his greatest story, but it's really full of stuff to make neat pictures. And so I met through Ramsey Campbell, the British writer.
Uh-huh. Familiar with Ramsey Campbell.
At PS Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Ramsey was really great, and he introduced me to Pete Crowther, and I pitched him the Dream Quest of Unknown Calf, and he said, "This is great. I'll do this. We'll put this out as a book, and let's do a whole series." It's like, really? He said, "Yeah." So I got to do all those Lovecraft things, which was just, for me, what an amazing thing to be able to do. Nice books. You've seen them, some of them, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the imagery just blew me away.
Well, the books are, thank you, and the books are very nice. They're hardcover books, and most of them have wraparound artwork on the covers. And the actual cover of the book is the artwork without the type on it, which is really nice if you're the artist, because the cover has the UPC or whatever they call that barcode thing, and the titles and everything. But underneath that, your artwork is clean on the book covers. And there's 17 volumes, so a lot of pictures that I got to make.
Yeah.
So that's my pleasure now. I did a Skeleton Crew book for them also. It's Stephen King's collection. And some stuff with Ramsey Campbell. I've just had. I've been really a lucky guy. One friend of mine says, "We are the guys we always wanted to be."
That's awesome. I need to check out the Skeleton Crew one now. And James, you have another question.
Well, I was gonna say, I know I don't want to keep you all night, but this has been phenomenal. But what are for people that are listening to the podcast? What are some things that you've got coming out soon, or that you think people should be checking out?
Or how do they get a hold of your stuff?
Well, my last name is Von Sholly, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I moved to Hollywood, you can see the Hollywood sign from everywhere, right?
Right.
So there's the Hollywood sign up on the hill, and then they have this supermarket called Vons, V-O-N-S. Vons is a supermarket chain. So I'm looking up at the Hollywood sign, and I see Vons Supermarket with the V-O-N-S, and I'm going, if you put the V-O-N-S in front of Hollywood, it spells Von Shollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, that's kind of funny, And so later on, when I was doing a book, I needed sort of a name, and I thought, well, Von Shollywood, I guess, why not,
Yeah.
It's not that it's so great, but what the hell. So I ended up kind of using that. So I had a website, VonShollywood.com, and it lapsed, and somebody stole the name. So I registered VonShollywood.net instead.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to look at VonShollywood.net, there's a bookstore on there.
Okay.
And you can order any of my self-published books. I've got a History of Monsters book. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir.
Anybody?
Yes.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. So that's that can be ordered, and I've done other self-published collections and all that stuff. But anyway, it's on the website. I don't expect to make a lot of money. I don't know. I just do what I like doing. But if people want it, you can go on there and get it. We got another book coming out from PS. Oh well, I did a book that IDW is supposed to put out called Fantastic Fictioneers.
Yes.
And it's a book of about 100 people, and it's really, really diverse. So it's got, it features Harlan Ellison and Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov and people like that, Robert Heinlein, as well as Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Frank Frazetta, and people that you might not know, like Mo Golub, who's an illustrator that painted all the Turok covers back in the day for Dell. He's a fantastic artist. And nobody knows him, so, and we've got, Gustave Doré is in there and Alfred Hitchcock, and it's just people who have done important and influential things. They could be film directors. Sam Raimi is in it. And I did portraits of all the people. So there's about 100 different people. So I did 100 portraits. Charles Adams and Gahan Wilson.
Yeah. Okay.
And, Harvey Kurtzman and, Will Elder. All these people are in this book. And then the publisher, now he asked me, this is PS Publishing in England. He said, well, you know a lot of people. You could get people to write essays for this book. And I said, well, how am I going to get them to write essays? He says, just ask them. Most people are happy to do it. And I said, well, I can't pay them. And he said, they'll do it. They don't care. They'll be happy to do it. So I went, all right. So I felt kind of awkward about that. But a lot of people just said, sure, you're the guy, the S.T. Joshi is sort of the leading Lovecraft scholar. He's, in Lovecraft land, Joshi is sort of the go-to guy. And I've become friends with him, and he wrote the feature on Lovecraft, and also Arthur Machen and Lord Dunsany and all these people that you've probably heard of, but you don't really, most people just like, oh, Arthur Machen, I've heard of him. He wrote The Great God Pan. That was an influence on the Dunwich Horror. And so we have Arthur Machen in there, and there's a portrait of him and an essay written by Joshi that you can flip through this book and find all kinds of fascinating people and pictures and information about them. It's sort of meant to be a kind of a fun book to pick up.
Yeah,
so
one of my favorite Sorry, Peter. One of my favorite illustrations is that of Charles Addams that you did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, that is really cool. We pulled it up now and I'm looking at it. It's a good 40 next to it, but you're right, the Charles Addams looks amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I love Charles Addams was one of the first artists, him and Dr. Seuss, when I was really young.
Yeah.
That I knew who they were, because their stuff, you'd get my parents for some reason had a Charles Addams book in the house. They collected his stuff from New Yorker in the books, and we had a Charles Addams cartoon book, and I just loved it, because Charles Addams was kind of the first cartoonist to claim the macabre for his own.
Yeah.
And he participated in the creation of the Addams Family TV show. He named the characters. And he got he profited from that. So that's a happy story of a person that, dealt with showbiz, if you will, and made out, and got treated decently. But yeah, I love him. So the picture is, the Addams Family doing and conjuring him up in a seance.
Yep.
As you see.
Yeah.
But there's a nice article about Charles Addams in there.
Yeah.
And we got great stuff in this book. And so, like I said, IDW is supposed to put it out. I don't know when but we're working on it with them. So that's going to be really, really, really neat.
Well, we expect signed copies sent to us.
I missed that one.
I'm sorry. We expect signed copies sent to us. Since you're,
As soon as I get 'em.
yes, absolutely, we'll give you our address. Sorry.
Don't hold your breath, because these things publishing takes forever. It's
Yeah.
mind. That's why I do my own books and do the Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to deal with. I make more money than I do most of the time with ordinary publishing. IDW put out Spinecrawler. That's a graphic novel that I wrote and illustrated. You probably never heard of it. And it's 100 pages. It's a horror story. It's really cool. It's got all kinds of neat stuff in it. But you don't get a lot of promotion. You have to kind of be your own promoter, which I hate. I'm happy to talk to guys about it, like you, because we're just talking, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But to really be a promoter and get publicity is like, I want to spend my time making stuff, not selling stuff, which is not to my best interest, maybe.
No, I completely. We have the same thing with the podcast and the show. You have to get out there. You can't just put it up, because there's millions of voices now, and you have to be louder than the other million voices to get your voice out there. And it's effort, and it takes. I mean, we all have children too, and we have jobs, professional careers, and whatnot. And it's just a lot of work. You're absolutely right. And it's not the kind of work you want to be doing.
No, and if you ever do a Kickstarter, it's a chore. You don't just put the thing up and sit back and you've got to sit there every day and write to people and pester people, which I hate.
I know.
It's like, hey, I got this Kickstarter thing. Go look at it. Give me money. Buy a book. For 30 days, however long your campaign lasts, it's a campaign.
Yes.
It's just like a war or running for office. It's a real campaign, and it takes a lot of work. So I'm not. I mean, that's the reality of it. But on the good side, you've sold a couple hundred books, whatever you sell, already.
Yeah.
And then you get the money. So you have enough money to pay the printer and postage and all that stuff, plus make a little dough for yourself.
Yeah.
So and you did it without waiting for other people and trying to convince them. One thing that you think, if I could just get my movie made, if I could just get my novel published or my comic published, whatever that is, it's so hard to do that. To get a studio to make your movie or somebody to publish your book, and if they say yes, they'll do it. They'll make the movie. You think, yes, I've done it. Hooray! I'm a success. It doesn't mean a damn thing if the movie is not a hit,
right,
or the book doesn't sell. So you go through this enormous battle to win this one thing, and then that's only half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
You find out if your book lays there like a lox, then it's almost the same as if it never even got published. So,
right.
But what are you going to do? I believe in persistence.
We agree. We agree. Yeah. Believe me, before we went into, this is one of the more successful things we've done, because we've made short films for years that no one bothered to watch or wanted to look at or give us any kind of thing. We've had more success with this than anything that we've done in the last 20 years as friends. So we totally understand. You just got to keep beating at the doors and making connections. And really, it's just talking to you all like this because we love production people, right?
Yes.
We love people behind the scenes because that's where all the great stories are when it comes to comics and films. It's not the actors hanging out in the trailers. It's the people who are actually on the set or actually there to making
the people who build the world.
Build the world.
I think storyboarding, I think writing, I think creating. Those are the people that make the world that we see, and the actors just populate it.
Yeah. So we've been fortunate.
Because God bless you guys and all of you. And I hope you.
Well, thank you.
What this is going to do you, but I hope you have success with what you're trying to do. And I have a million things. I've got, I always tell people I got a million of them, and then I say, no, really, a million.
Right.
I do. You ever, just stay in touch, and I'll tell you about stuff as it.
Well, we will. Pete, this has been great, and we don't want to keep you too long. We've already had you on here 2 hours, and we're so sorry.
Yeah, you're our longest interview yet.
We usually don't go this long.
This
has all been great.
It's great, and our audience will love it.
I'm sitting here jumping up and down on the couches. It's been
honestly, it was worth it just for the Sam Raimi story about him saying not to sit next to John Landis. I've never met John Landis. I've met a lot of people who have met John Landis. I've watched a lot of interviews, and that man can talk. It's great.
He literally did a podcast episode with Kevin Pollak where he talked nonstop for 3 straight hours.
And it's still Kevin Pollak's longest show. Was with John Landis for 3 hours.
I think that people like me don't get to talk to people about this stuff very often. So the fact that anybody's interested in it is fun. And, I've had a great time.
Good.
Oh, thank you.
All this stuff,
Good.
So talking about it is cool.
Well, Pete, we'd love to have you back on. When you start doing your next Kickstarter or something, why don't you give us a call? Why don't you let us know? We will be in contact with you when this is up. What we do is we're usually a few weeks behind. We're always ahead. So we're like I said, we have professional jobs. So we try to do a good job of putting the video together. It's not one static shot. It's different cuts for the YouTube. So when we put it up, which will be a few weeks, I'm not for sure how long. I'm looking over our producer director, and she's not for sure either. So when we put it up, share it with everybody that you can with all your social media, and we'll promote the hell out of it for you. And then the next time you have something, let us know, and we'll get it out there. Okay?
And we'll put up a link to your website.
Whenever, feel free to use images, whatever you can, or if you need something,
The last time I asked you for an image, you sent me a dick pic, man.
Tell anybody that.
I mean, I appreciated it. It's not usually... I'm not into that, but hey. It was impressive.
Thank you for your time, though. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you, Pete. And this is Joe and
Chad.
And we will be in contact with you not only about letting you know about the website. We'll put your website on it, but also when it'll be up. And if you could, we'll be in contact with you in the next couple of days to send us a headshot, whichever photo you want to use for this. Okay.
Sure. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. And tell your wife we said hello.
I will.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Peter von Sholly. That was amazing. It was fascinating, and we loved it.
Yeah, it was a great 2 hours you spent with us.
We can't thank him enough.
We can't thank you enough. Also, we can't thank Mick Strawn enough.
Yes. Thank you, Mick Strawn. Please stop sending us hateful emails.
No, keep sending us hateful emails.
Yeah, I kind of like those messages on Facebook, but the dick pics are a little much.
So as we continue to do these interviews, we hope that you all as an audience are enjoying them. We continue to get the people that are behind the scenes, that are building the worlds that make the movies. Not
building better worlds. Next week, Waylon Yutani.
Not taking anything away from actors, but the people who do the storyboards, that do the film, do the setup, and do the set construction. These are the people that make the movies. Joe, I talk with my hands, you annoying jerk.
Where are you going to put your hands at, Ricky Bobby?
These are the people that make the movies. So that's why we do on this show. We try to interview a lot of behind-the-scenes people. We hope you're enjoying it. If you do enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, if you want us to do something else, hit subscribe. That's how we know that you people are listening and that you're enjoying what we do. If there are other behind-the-scenes people you would like us to try to interview, let us know that as well. Subscribe and comment.
Subscribe, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube.
We'll see you next week
on
Bonehead.
Maury.
Bonehead.
You are not the father. You are not the father. You're the father.
Oh no! That electronic penis has went crazy again.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
I got impregnated.
By the great flavor of Popeye's chicken, sponsor us. Sponsor us.
Love them biscuits.
Hashtag Popeyes.